You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. Bitcoin, Ether, Solana, Doge, and more. Cryptocurrencies and digital assets are taking the financial world by storm. This exploding market provides everything a savvy trader needs: volatility, volume, and liquidity, provided you know how to find it. That's where we come in. Welcome to the Crypto Rundown. Each week, we'll break down the latest trading activity, trends, and developments throughout the world's leading crypto derivatives markets. If it's moving the crypto markets, then you'll find it on the Crypto Rundown. The Crypto Rundown is brought to you by Amber Data. If you're entering the digital asset class, you'll need access to granular on-chain and market data from multiple venues to power research, trading, risk management, and compliance. Amber Data delivers comprehensive data and insights into blockchain networks, crypto markets, and decentralized finance, empowering financial institutions to apply traditional finance methods to digital assets. Amber Data eliminates the infrastructure setup, integration challenges, and maintenance headaches to access digital asset data, reducing cost and time to market to enter the digital asset class. Learn more and download their digital asset data guide at www.amberdata.io. Now it's time to dive into the exploding world of crypto derivatives. It's time for the Crypto Rundown.
All right, everybody. That music means we are back once again. Time to check out what's cooking in the world of crypto derivatives. Yes, it is time once again for the Crypto Rundown. My name, of course, Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, as well as from the network upon which all of you folks are binging. If you like good rundowns on the network, a new one coming at you over the last couple of weeks, the Futures Rundown, getting added to the mix. And dare I say it, probably some overlap there on the crypto scene. So as that show goes on going forward, you're probably going to want to dip your toes into that one as well. Of course, the easiest way to get all of it, the Crypto Rundown, the Futures Rundown, This Week in Futures Options, Volatility Views, the Option Block, you name it, Options Bootcamp, which all of you should be listening to. Then make sure wherever you're listening to this, Apple, could be Spotify, YouTube, Audible, wherever, make sure you upgrade, get the full network, nearly a dozen shows. It's a lot, I get it, but you can handle it, I think, listeners. And if you want even more, for the hardcore, want to go above and beyond, theoptionsinsider.com/pro. The place to go to learn more. And of course, all of our data this week coming at you courtesy of our friends over there at Amber Data, amberdata.io, the place to go to kick the tires and light the fires as we kick the tires on a little bit of the old Bitcoin breakdown.
It's time to explore the latest trending activity, trends, and developments across the world's leading crypto market. It's time for the Bitcoin Breakdown.
All right, listeners, welcome to the Bitcoin Breakdown, the portion of the show where we do just break down all the action of the past week in the world of Bitcoin. If I sound a little bit different this week, because I'm coming to you from the southern studio here in scenic Florida. I'm here for Securities Traders Association National Conference. Say that one 5 times fast, listeners, where we'll explore the intersection of securities and options, and of course, a smattering, a dab of crypto on the top there as well. So it should be fun. Stay tuned to the network feed for all the content coming out there. But let's get to the world of all things Bitcoin. How's Bitcoin looking as we're kicking off the show? You know, we're up a little bit at 57,798. That's a tick shy of 57,800 as we're kicking off the show. That's about almost 1,300 handles above where we were this time last week, 56,503. to be precise. I did a little bit of living throughout the last week or so. The low was pretty much right around our showtime last week, and the high came on Friday again. What's with the highs coming on Friday lately? Interesting. Usually we see some interesting levels over the weekend, but these days, Friday seems to be where we hit our apex. This week it was 65.58, crossing that 60K threshold, then coming right back down from it out there. Of course, that means if we're hanging out a little bit north of where we were this time last week, kind of range bound, you could probably expect vol to continue to come in this week, and that is the case. We were at a 60 even on the weekly, the 7-day Bitcoin vol on the show last week. This week, 54 and a quarter, is coming down almost 6 points. If we go out 30 days, again, a more standardized vol metric, a 51 this week. That's down 5 points from where we were this time last week at a 56. And let's go out 6 months to the hodlers. You know hodlers are going to hodl. And 64.5 on the show last week on the 6-month vol, the 180-day vol. This week, it's 62. So still frothy, but coming in about 2.5 points. Let's get out to the skew, because sometimes the skew will tell us some more of the tale out there. And on the weekly skew, interestingly enough, maybe the fact that we retreated so quickly off the 60K level, maybe that's spooking some people, or maybe they're just leaning a little bit bearish. We were mildly bearish on the show last week on the weekly skew, negative 3.2. Coming into the show this week, slightly more bearish, negative 3.7. So it's not much, it's not a huge evolution, but we haven't seen that bearish sentiment vanish. So that's something interesting in and of itself. Going out to the full month skew, it's kind of the same deal. We were at a -1 this time a week ago, so flat to mildly, very mildly bearish, and we're pretty much in that exact same camp this week. We're at a -1.25, so take that 0.25 of a point however you like out there, but kind of hanging out in the same zone, and that's pretty much the case for the 6-month skew as well. It was exactly 3 on the show this time a week ago. This week, 3.1, so pretty much all of our skew numbers hanging out pretty close to where they were this past week, maybe a little bit extra sprinkled on top. Let's get out to some other products you folks like to sling out there on the Bitcoin front. Use it as a surrogate for Bitcoin in your portfolio. Let's kick things off in Bitto at a 17.5 when we kicked off the show, up a whopping 1/4 of a point, so not a heck of a lot of evolution there. The ADV continuing to come in, 74K, down about 7K, and that's the reverse of the typical trend we usually see in options volume. We usually see things get quiet heading into the late summer months, and they start to get a little bit more active this time of year as we're getting into early fall, market's starting to heat up again. And instead, we saw Bitto kind of top out from its ADV over 100K about a month ago. It's been slowly dwindling ever since. Today, about 31,000 contracts on the tape, so it doesn't seem like we're going to get there today. But again, we've got a little bit of time left in the day, so you never know. And then, of course, the vol at about a 55 now, which is going to put it down about 2 points, 2.5 points to be precise on the week. So your 30-day vol down 2.5 points from where it was this time a week ago out there in Bitcoin vol. Let's keep on rolling. So look at the top positions. And you know what? There's been a little bit of evolution out there, but not a ton. The big dog is still the Jan 2025 30s, 124, almost 125,000 of those, followed by number 2, about 84,000 of the Jan 35s. That hasn't really changed. Jan 25s, 75,000. So unless you're really excited about the SEP 50s, 5-0s, which are open for size out there in Bitto. All right, you know what? Let's check really quickly, listeners. There's 44,000 of those open. Let's do a little live check-in. Looks like they opened a good chunk of them back on June 24th. Let's see. What did they pay for those? They paid 13 cents for those back when Bitto was $22.89. So obviously substantially higher than it is right now. It doesn't look like it's a spread. Interesting. You might have assumed it would be the other half of a vertical. SEP 5-0s. Wow. They were drinking the Kool-Aid out there, listeners, apparently. At least we have a little time left, but apparently it doesn't seem like it's going to come to pass. Yeah, 13 cents seems to be like the lion's share of the price out there. Let's just look and see if there was any other size SEP. The SEP 25s did trade as well that same day, 8,300. So it could have been a 1x2. Oh, they sold those for about $1. So sell 1x2 on the 50s. 25.50. It didn't go up as a spread, listeners, and the time was Let's check the time. They were a couple hours apart, so if they were legging into this, they were taking a lot of delta risk. But it is possible they sold the 25s for $1 and then bought 2 of the 50s for 13 cents. That's a very wide 1x2. Either way, listeners, not a fan, but intriguing nonetheless as we keep on rolling. Let's get out to a little bit of BitX. Mr. Greg was on the show with us last week. His favorite product out there when he's not talking Toncoin. 24.5, up about 0.8 on the week. So everyone's kind of keeping their powder dry, it seems like, ahead of the Fed this week. And that's kind of being reflected in a lot of the crypto products as well. The ADV, 17,000 down, about 2,000 from where it was a week ago. 11,000 on the tape today. And your 30-day vol at about a 112. So still frothy, but down about 6 points out there. Your top positions, you're still the big dog is going to be 7,100 of the Jan 2026 70 puts. But if you dig a little bit farther, I noticed right number 2, 4,600 of the DEES 30s. I don't recall those on the show last week, at least not for this amount of size. And that is the case. Looks like they put on a bunch since our last show, including on the 12th last week, listeners. So they came in on last Thursday, and looks like they bought a bunch of them for prices around $4.01. They paid for 100 lot. They went up at least 2,500 that day. So a fair amount of these being open, and they traded more the next day, the 13th. So someone's really they traded on the 9th as well. Someone's got a nice little axe to grind here. BitX, this is a levered product. So long-term out of the money calls in BitX. I don't know if that's my favorite. We talked about that with Greg before. Some of the issues that weigh on some of these levered products. So longer term upside, probably not my preferred way to go, but interesting. Someone's really piling in. Nearly 5,000 of these open now. DEES 30s, prices around $4. You like those, listeners? They're paying up. That is a 135 volatility if you are intrigued out there. So if you want to keep up with the Joneses, that is the cost of admission. Let's go out to Mara. $16 even when we kicked off the show, about $1.33. Up about $1.33, I should say, from where it was this time a week ago. So kind of a quiet week out there, actually, all things considered out there in Mara. 205,000 contracts on the tape. That bad boy is actually unched on the week, which is kind of interesting. We don't see that too often out there in Maryland. And our vol right now at an 87, down about 3 points, which is interesting. So still frothy, but coming in a little bit. We're seeing 94,000 contracts on the tape as well. So I don't know if that ADV is going to hang out unchanged for long. But then again, we expected light volume at the start of the week with, again, everyone keeping all eyes firmly fixated on the Fed. And the big dog out there in Mara this week, the SEP 30s. Yes, we talked about these before. Nearly 34,000 of these are open. Mara's at a 16 right now, so not looking great on these SEP 30s. We talked about these before, and kind of the general range that Mara seems like it's been in for the better part of the last year. Down to about 15, up to about 30. It's like somebody clearly has been keeping an eye on that range as well, hence the size OI on the SEP 30s and the Jan 30s, both about 33,000. So clearly the same player or an inspired player for one and the other, and about the exact same size as well, which is kind of interesting. Same strike. The SEP 30s don't seem like they're going to do well. They're probably going to go the way of the dodo, listeners. I'm looking here to see when they were opened. It looks like a good chunk of them, at least 16,000 of that 32,000, so roughly half, were opened. They started really opening in pieces, but they've been doing them for a while. They started trading them in early to mid-July, it seems like, and prices nearly $2, about $1.88, $1.81. I see some for $1.60, all on the same day, actually, back on July 23rd. So they had quite the range just that day. So prices from $1.60 up to maybe around $2 seems like where they were getting into a lot of these. Looks like maybe they also got wind of which way the Mara winds were blowing, because looks like they dumped a bunch of them on the first. Looks like about half of the OI, 16,000 trading that day, for prices around 71 to 80, actually 90 cents, a wide range again, 71 to 90 cents. So they started getting in on a lot of them back in early to mid-July. They bailed on a good chunk, it seems like, but not all of them, obviously. There's still a bunch of OI, but a good chunk on the first, when maybe Mara was trading around $19.50. Maybe they got their first whiff that Probably not going to hit the 30 handle again by expiration, but there's still a bunch open, obviously, as we were saying right now. 33,000 left. So if they paid nearly $2 for those, that one's going to leave a bit of a mark as we keep on rolling into the altcoin universe.
It's time to move beyond Bitcoin and find out what's moving the rest of the crypto marketplace. It's time to boldly venture into the altcoin universe.
All right, everybody, let's do it. Let's start one of my favorite segments of the show, the market cap slugfest. Let's see what the evolution is. It cost you a little bit less to break into the top 10 this week than last week. Last week, we're at about 13 billion even. This week at about 12.85, so pretty close. Last week, our number 10 contestant was Toncoin, so our guest Greg was very excited. This week, coming in at number 10, we have Tron. Again, 12.85 billion. So intriguing. Tron taking the number 10 spot this week. Number 9, Toncoin. So Toncoin climbing the ranks a little bit to 13.7 billion worth of market cap for Toncoin. And number 8, our old pal Doge. Still pretty much hanging out exactly where it was at number 8 a week ago. Last week it was about 15 billion. This week, 14.5 billion. So Doge giving up a little bit of the ghost, but still managing to cling to its number 8 spot. Number 7, XRP, because of course it is 32.6 billion. Number 6, it's USD coin, 35.5 billion. Number 5, it's our old pal Solana, 61 billion. This time a week ago, Solana was at 62 billion, so giving up a billion there as well. Number 4, BNB, 77.8 billion. Number 3, it's Tether, 118.8 billion. Number 2, it's ETH, because of course it is 275.5. And the big dog, Bitcoin, still hanging out north of the 1 trillion level, 1.14 trillion to be precise. Let's get out into the rest of the altcoin universe on this Just the Facts Ma'am edition, listeners. 2286 is where ETH is hanging out right now. That's down, but down slightly from where it was this time a week ago. Down not even 50 handles, 49 handles from where we were a week ago. The high, once again, coming on Friday. So Fridays lately just kind of seem to be where we top out. 24.41 was where we topped out on Friday. And of course, the low coming pretty much as we're talking right now, 22.86. So an interesting range out here on the week, but not enough to keep our vol at these frothy levels. We were at a 70.75 on the 7-day vol a week ago. This week, 62.8, so coming in quite a bit there. 30-day vol, 67.2 on the show last week, so ETH was pretty frothy last week. This week, 60.5, so coming in over 7 points on the 30-day vol. That's quite a vol move. And going out a little bit farther to the 6-month vol, also a decent vol move there as well. 74.5 on the show last week, 70.9 this week. So coming in about 3.6 points out there on the 180-day vol front. So vol coming in across the board on the ETH front, which is fascinating. Let's go out to the Skew front. Are we seeing the same, I guess you can call it, same levels as last week we saw in Bitcoin, but maybe same and a little more, maybe as we saw in Bitcoin out there, same Skew level, just maybe a little bit more? The answer is no. Actually, kind of the opposite. It's maybe same and a little less. Last week on the show, we were at -4.5 on the weekly Skew. This week it is -4.1, so coming in a little bit, so very similar, but a little bit less. On the 30-day Skew, we were at -2.33 last week. This week, -1.8, so still negative, similar but less. And then we're going out to the 180-day Skew. We're at a 3.9 the show last week. This week, 3.3. So once again, keeping our theme alive of similar but less. Let's run through some of the rest of the altcoin universe, and we'll get some of our crypto questions and get out of here for this week. Listeners, I have to get out of the Southern studio, head out to the conference. But Solana coming into the start of the show today, 130.4. Last week, 132.9. So down about 2.5 handles over the last week. XRP, 53, almost 53.5 cents on the show last week, 57.8, so getting a little bit of a lift, up about 4.3 cents on the week. If past is prologue, it won't hold this for long, so don't get too excited, but hey, I'd be happy to be wrong. But we've all been burned so many times on XRP, it's hard to get excited about this latest 4-cent move, listeners. Dogecoin, 10.3 cents this week, breaking 10 cents, 9.9 cents, so is this the beginning of the end for Doge, listeners, or will Elon step in to save it again? I guess we'll find out. Litecoin, 60.93 on the show last week, 62.33 this week, up about 1.3, almost 1.4 points on the week. Cardano 34.3 cents last week, 32.9 cents. So coming in about almost 1.5 cents, about 1.4 cents. Polkadot 429 last week, 421 this week, down a whopping 8 cents. And everyone's favorite, Shiba Inu, a million zeros, 1357 last week. This week, 1309. So giving up a little bit of the ghost there as well. Which, you know, that means, listeners, no Shiba Lambos for this week. As we roll on into our final segment, it is time to answer a little bit of your crypto questions.
You've got questions about crypto. Who doesn't? It's time to find out the answers to your crypto questions.
All right, listeners, welcome to the crypto questions. And you know what? Crypto has actually taken over our question of the week this week. If you follow us at Options on Twitter, you'll see we put out a fun question of the week on a wide variety of the topics, usually options and derivatives related. Sometimes we get outside a little bit. Last week we asked you about the Fed and the rate cuts and its impact on the markets. We've asked many things about vol and other fun things, which is why you should be following us over there at Options on Twitter/X. This week, going the crypto route this week, in particular Bitcoin. We asked you, you know, Bitcoin has lived many lives over the past decade. And this has also been an interesting talking point on the show ever since we launched, but it's very much kicked into high gear again. At the end of the day, you know, what is Bitcoin? You know, we asked you this week, we have more data under our belts now, but the debate over what it really is still rages on. So we thought we'd ask you folks this week, what role does Bitcoin really play in our portfolio? We've had so many guests on this show taking so many different viewpoints. It's a high tech allocation at the end of the day because Bitcoin has been very highly correlated to the NASDAQ of late and a lot of the big tech names you like. So, of course, that was one of our selections this week, just another tech stock. Or since a lot of you really started getting into it, it was viewed by many of you as digital gold. We gave you that choice as well. Is it just another uncorrelated asset class? We gave you that choice. Or the infamous other out there, listeners. And right now, again, in the early offing, this is just a few hours into the poll. This will run all week long. 42.9% of you are choosing it is an uncorrelated asset class, which we had this conversation just last week with Greg. If you look back historically at Bitcoin, the correlation does kind of evolve over time depending on what's going on contextually in the rest of the market. Sometimes it is highly correlated, like now with a lot of the big tech stocks. In the past, it has had interesting gold implications. Of course, you know, the digital gold a lot of people got burned with the inflation. You would have thought Bitcoin would have performed better in a inflationary environment if it was indeed digital gold. So a lot of people got burned on that. But again, looking at Bitcoin correlation, it kind of changes over time. So it's a bit of a moving target, which would, maybe at the end of the day, you could back it all into this uncorrelated asset class comment, even though within periods within that time frame, it is highly correlated. So it's a bit of a catch-22 there. But right now, 42.9% choosing an uncorrelated asset class. 28.6% still loving it as some digital gold. Then we have a tie for third, 14.3% with just another tech stock and other, including we have Vernon Griffin chiming in saying it's just a bad retirement plan lottery ticket out there. So get over there at Options and make your voice heard, listeners. All right, that is going to do it for us on the crypto rundown for this week. Just the facts, ma'am edition. I have to get out to this conference here. You'll be hearing our usual way of content throughout the rest of the week. Another reason to remain subscribed to that full network feed. I'll be live from the conference on Thursday with the option block and this week in futures options, and probably Friday as well for vol views and options oddities. The latter, of course, for our pro folks. So check them out if you want to learn more. TheOptionsInsider.com/pro is the place to go to get access to that. Then I'll be back in the Chicago studio next week for another episode of the Crypto Rundown. Stay safe out there, everybody.
The Crypto Rundown is brought to you by Amber Data. If you're entering the digital asset class, you'll need access to granular on-chain and market data from multiple venues to power research, trading, risk management, and compliance. Amber Data delivers comprehensive data and insights into blockchain networks, crypto markets, and decentralized finance, empowering financial institutions to apply traditional finance methods to digital assets. Amber Data eliminates the infrastructure setup, integration challenges, and maintenance headaches to access digital asset data, reducing cost and time to market to enter the digital asset class. Learn more and download their digital asset data guide at www.amberdata.io. You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions@theoptionsinsider.com.